It started today. That's all right. Doing a watercolor painting today. And we're going to be using some tube paints that are Winsor & Newton Cotman. And I lost my brushes. I don't know where they went. Oh. There they are. All right. Let's start with a quill. Guess I'm going to set them brushes over there for the moment. So I think what I'm going to try to do is spray the paper with this squirt bottle. Trying to choke it up the best I can. Doing a landscape painting with some kind of purpley trees today. So I'm going to try and get some sort of abstract looking trees using some spatter. So now, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but I've got some water droplets on there. And hopefully I'll be able to create some interesting shapes with that. And I'm going to mix up like a pink, a little bit of a purple or more purpley pink. Let me squirt my paints here so I can get them activating. Like I said, kind of a slow start for me today. That's probably good there. I need more color actually. Just trying to touch those water droplets and let them kind of carry it. Need some more paint. It's getting a little bit more purple than I wanted it. It's better. All right, there's some pink. I'm gonna get some blue colors in there. Purple, more purple colors. I'm gonna try and get a little bit more spatter on there. Being very conservative with the spatter, just so that there's not a whole lot of droplets in there. But there's some that'll kind of give me some texture. I think I'm going to try at first letting some white show through, because maybe that'll read like either some light parts of these trees or maybe some like white kind of blossoms, because you know it's springtime, so I'm trying to do some spring paintings as much as I'd like to paint autumn. This doesn't feel like the right season for it. I gotta paint spring. I'm just going to try to vary these colors a little bit, not keep it all one kind of homogeneous color. I'm going to try to throw some more heavier blue spots in there. That's too blue. That's better. Not really concerned too much about anything right now. I'm just trying to get some colors on there. Letting it pick up some spatters where it wants to. I'm going to try and see if I can get this paint to move a little bit. So I'm going to kind of block it with my hand. See if I can get that paint on the top there to kind of fade up a little bit. Trying to coax it up that way. So it'll create some kind of like faded out bits at the top. And I'm going to add some sky color back in there. I'll do the same thing up here as well. So now I think I'm going to throw a little bit of water in there too. Well, you know, I'm actually kind of happy with, I don't know, I won't touch it yet. Now I'm going to add some kind of darker blue spots in there. I think I'm going to actually get some Payne's gray. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm going to need it. It's still just Winsor & Newton Cotman Payne's gray. Just trying to get a little bit on the darker side of things. I can throw some of that in there. All right, I'm gonna try and get some cooler blues in there too. So some cerulean blue. This one's gonna be a little more watery. It's a lot of water in there. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get some grass stuff going on in there too now. And some of that mingle with the blue. Oh, that's a lot of paint. That's gonna be way more intense than I want. It's also a really unnatural looking green. To try and throw maybe some red in there. Just need to get some of that paint out of my face here. Okay, there we go. That's better. Okay, now I want some kind of yellow greens. Need to get some blue in there to unify things a bit more, I think. All right. Let's see what next. I think I had some dark spots there for some distant stuff in the back. A little more of that in there. I want that to be pretty dark when it dries. So I'm gonna add a lot. This is gonna dry a lot darker, or sorry, lighter. Okay. Try to throw some of these in there too. Trying to get some lighter blues back in there. Okay. I think I need more green. So let's get some more of this green going. That ended up being a lot more unnatural of a green than I wanted. I'll try and pick some of that up out of there. Okay. Now I'm going to try and get some texture in there by adding some water. I'm going to make sure my brush is clean. I'm just going to squeeze some water out on there. That was way too much water. We just touch it. I want to create some kind of edges there. I think I'm going to do the same thing here. Just add some water. Pick up the excess where I don't want it. All right, let's see. I think I'm going to add a little bit of that in here. Trying to get some light spots in there. All right, I think I'm going to put the sky in now because I got to kind of wait for some of these other bits to dry. Oh no, I've made a catastrophe here. It'll give it some character. Okay. I think for the sky, I'm just going to do some cerulean blue since I already got some of that over here. I'm going to go like real light with it, so a lot of water. I want a little lighter than that. I think I'm going to put it on there real thick and then like pull it off. Actually, maybe that's fine there. Throw a little bit of ultramarine in there. See if that'll help it to kind of granulate a little bit. I try to pull some of that off of the edges so that it doesn't have an outline. It's really wanting to hang on to those edges. All right, I'm gonna leave it there before I start breaking things. All right, so there's a start. And I'm gonna wait till it's pretty dry so every time I touch it, it doesn't leave a nice little fingerprint like I did there. So what can I add while it's still wet? Let's see. Well, I think I can add some more green on the bottom. Some of that real yellow green. Try and get that looking like grass or something in there. Yeah, I'm not touching that. I'm gonna try to get some of this in those light spots. Blend that in there. Got some kind of nice textures going on in here that I like. I'm hoping that those stick around. So like in there, that worked out kind of nice. And the trees have some kind of interesting textures there too. These will look, I think, a lot more interesting once, I get a tree trunk in there and some kind of branches. But I think they got a nice start. Like there's some really nice white bits in there sticking out. I'm gonna try to work those in. I was kind of hoping for some more dark bits on the trees. I'm not sure if I want to add that now. I'm kind of waiting for it to dry. It might be too late to add those. Otherwise, they're going to look kind of like tacked onto the top of it. Because I'd be working wet on to dry and it would just be a wash on top of that. So maybe I'll actually add those like last. So I'll add the branches, and then maybe if I want to put in some dark spots, I can do that. I'm going to try and get rid of this here while it's still... That edge was bothering me. What to do now? Sorry, I'm thinking. I think I just want to wait for it to dry. I don't want to add... I don't want to break what I got. I got something kind of nice here. I want to add my darks in there before I start trying to play around. Because with watercolor, the way I tend to approach it, and I think probably the wise way to approach it, is to paint light to dark. So focus on getting your lights where you want your lights, and then put the darks in after, because you can't really lighten things up very well in watercolor. It's difficult to do that. You end up going into gouache or trying to lift, and that can be tricky. Or maybe we could try it. Oh, let's try that. Since we're waiting. Just got a piece of shop cloth here. I'm gonna try and like dab a cloud or something in here. Like that. Break the sky up a little bit. Don't know if that improved it, but it's there now. Can barely even tell. That's a really subtle sky. Maybe I'll add a little bit more to that. Because I can work in there, because I'm not really going to touch that very much. Because that dried a lot lighter than I wanted it to. That was too much of that blue. Wanted more cerulean blue in the sky. It's springtime, you know? Flip that cloud off again. Let's play with that a little bit since I got time. Let's try getting this whole thing kind of blue here, and really darken it in the corner. Try lifting some clouds out of there. It's kind of more interesting. Still very subtle, but a little more interesting. Let's check on how this is doing. It's getting pretty dry. It's tricky because there's like a certain period in between when it's dry and when it's just a little bit damp. And when it's just a little bit damp is I find when I do the most damage. Like that just seems to be when water will really push the paint out. So if you want to create like watermarks and stuff like that, when it's like just about to be dry, but it's still a little bit damp, if you put some water in there, then it just seems like it disperses the paint right where you put the water. So whenever I try to paint, I'm very careful of like just right before it's about to be dry. It's not quite dry, but it's getting there. That's a dangerous time to work on it for me. I notice. But I'm no watercolor expert. I'm still a dabbler in watercolor. So I'm planning to have kind of two trees here. One's going to be kind of like here, and then one's going to be kind of here. And I'm going to have to add some shadows for those. So I could add the shadows now. I could do that. I really just want to get the trunks in there solid. I mean, my favorite thing to paint probably is like sort of the trunks of trees and the branches, just because it's very simple. I mean, you just kind of take a liner brush and get it full of paint and then just kind of drag it along. Especially in watercolor, I mean, you really don't have to do a lot of work to get some interesting looking shapes going with that. And I'm trying to kind of paint the leaf shapes really abstractly first. That's kind of the experiment with this painting, is to try and get these leaf shapes in there. And then I'm going to paint the tree trunk on top of it and try to add some like broken bits in there. I just want to see how it looks, because that's one thing I struggle to paint is the actual leaf part of trees, which is why I like painting autumn a lot, and I like painting winter scenes a lot, is because you can paint barren trees and you can put all the leaves on the ground and nobody bats an eye. But with summer trees and spring scenes, summer and spring scenes, it's you got to actually put the leaves on the trees, so it can be a little tricky, at least for me. All right, let's see. It's still a little damp, so this is dangerous. We're gonna go for it. And I think I'm just gonna do like Payne's Gray. I'm gonna put the Payne's Gray over here, I think. Maybe I'll get a little bit of blue in there. Maybe some red. Get it kind of purple. Whoa. Might have overdone it a little on that one. A little more blue, I think. All right. We're going to try that. All right. Oh, no problem. Add a little bit more water in there. So I think the only really important thing you have to do when making these trees, the only thing that you actually have to do is it's got to get skinnier as it goes up. That's basically the only rule. It's got to get skinnier as it goes up, otherwise it don't look like a tree. All right, so we're going to let that be the trunk. And we're going to add some branches coming out of them. And hopefully this painting will come to life here in the next couple of minutes or so. Hopefully. That was a lot more busy than I wanted it to be. But I added a really fat looking limb in there, so I had to do something about that. And maybe what I'll, I don't know, I don't like that limb that I made. So I guess maybe the whole tree's gonna get a little fatter. We're gonna go up with this and give him another main branch. And I'll kind of want something to like cross over in there, so I'm gonna throw one like that. All right. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop with that one now and move on to my next guy. Next one's going here. One thing before I stop with this guy. Make his base just a little wider there. Give him a root. All right. Back to this guy. Gonna vary up my colors a little bit here. Trying to think of what I want to do with this guy. Let's see, I think kind of like what happened there. I like touched it and it got a little bit duller. I don't know if that's the right word, but I sort of like took a lot of the color out of it by touching it. So it looks like the branch is kind of poking in and out of there now. That's a pretty subtle thing. I don't know if that's going to show up on the camera there, but I thought that was interesting. I think I'm going to try to like fade that trunk out a little bit. So I'm going to throw some blue in there. See if I can't like dry brush in a little bit of branch there. So it looks a little bit more realistic. Okay, I'm liking that a little better. All right, what next? What next? I think we need more trees. So let's get more trees. Stuck my hand in the tree. I'm not left-handed, so this is going to be a rough one. And maybe we'll turn it sideways. Trying to get this guy real hairline thin, so I'm going to be quiet for just a moment while I focus. I'll give you one tip for that actually, is if you want thinner looking branches, one way to do that is to use less paint. That tends to make them a little bit thinner. So if you kind of like wipe a little bit of the paint off of your brush, sometimes that helps. Add another tree over in here. Another good piece of advice when painting these trees is avoid. Let me just make one and then I'll tell you. It's easier to just show you. I'll try to fix him. Hopefully he doesn't wreck the painting. I'll do an evil, bad mistake that you should never make. Don't make a tree that looks like that. Where he's got like 3 branches. There's something about like just, and then just one that has 2 branches too. There's something about that that's like, I don't know if uncanny valley is the right word, but your mind just picks up on it and says, that ain't a tree. It doesn't look random. And part of the other problem is that they sort of start at the same spot. So you've got one that goes off that way and one that goes off that way. It's better to like start them at different spots. So like over here, I've got one up here and then one down here. They're not like one's here and one's here. So stagger them, stagger the branches a little bit. We're going to try and fix this one with my favorite technique of just add more branches. I think that's like all I'm going to do for that one. All right, now I'm going to try to get some like kind of more distant ones looking going on. And I'm going to do that by lightening up the blue. So I'm going to add some cerulean blue in there to lighten them up. And I'm going to try to keep them like just sort of silhouettes. Those are pretty subtle. I'm not sure if they're going to come through on the camera very well. Add some over on this side too. All right. Let's see what else we want to do. We got a painting now. It looks like a painting. I think the trees need shadows because it looks like they're just sort of stuck on there right now. So we need something to stick them into the landscape, I think. And that's easily done. I think I want a little bit more water. I was going to put them on with the liner brush, but I think for the shadows, I want a little bit of watercolor magic to happen. Hopefully I don't destroy things. So I'm going to pick a slightly larger brush. And I think we're going to do it's the same color I was using before. Just going to throw those in there. And just like that, shadows shall happen. Try to get some more blue in there just because having some color in your shadows is not a bad thing. Okay. This one's a little closer, so I'm going to try and... Well, hold on. I don't like what I've done here. Pull that off. I want to try and get some grass texture in there. So maybe what I will do is use the liner. Yeah. Try to get some grass looking things going on in there. It's not dark enough. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of Payne's gray. Oh my. Making a mess now. It's alright. I'm throwing it in there. I'm gonna try and like negative paint in some grass texture too. See how that works. And I think I want this shadow to kind of extend over that way, so maybe I'll do some of that. And this shadow's a lot closer to us, so I think he's gonna get a lot of blue. And I also like the bottom of him, so it's gonna get some blue. I'll try and pull some of this out of there. My handy dandy paper towel. So I got a little overzealous there. I'm gonna add some shadow. All right, that's not looking too bad. It's not looking too bad. I don't really love that mark there, so I'm going to try and pick him up a little bit. And then I'm going to put some green where I did that. A lot of yellow in there. I'm going to try and put this on really thick. Kind of create some texture in there. I don't know, that kind of messed up my unity a little bit. I don't really love that color. I'm going to try throwing some blue in there. Really, I hate that green that I mixed up. I'm gonna put some of this blue green in there. Just trying to change it a little bit. There, I think I've dulled it a little bit. I'm gonna try to get some watermarks in there too. Okay. Trying to kind of create a little bit of a cauliflower on the edge of that shadow, so it looks like there's some kind of grass eating up into it. I don't know if I succeeded or not. Now I think I'm going to amp up this shadow a little bit. I think I'm going to throw some of this green in here. I'm going to dull it down just a little bit because that green is really strong. That was too much. I think I'm just gonna like put that on real thin. Just see what I think about it. Not that thin. Okay. I get some blue in there. Throw a little bit of blue in that shadow. All right. What now? What now? Maybe nothing. That might be all she wrote for this guy. Maybe one thing I can do is try to add some more intense blues in there. Let's try that. Trying to dry brush some dark bits in there. Just adding a little bit of something. A little extra texture. Okay. I think I'm going to stop touching that one because I like it. I think it looks okay. Okay. Let me wash this brush since I'm thinking about it. All right, let's see what we got here. That's what we got. Some highlights for this one, I think, is up here. Let me get a brush so I can point. Up here, I like the white bits that got shown through, because when I spritzed the canvas with it's paper, you know what I mean. When I spritzed it with water, the watercolor tends to stay where the water is. So when I added those little droplets in there, that's what added all these really hard edges. Those are where it was dry spots, essentially. That's what those are. So I wish that there maybe had been more of those. Maybe not. Maybe it's better that there's not quite so many. Either way, I like them. I think they add a lot. Let's see. I think I probably shouldn't have added that blue there. I don't think that improved things. I kind of like this one that I added at the end. Overall, I think it's a decent painting. Looks all right. Got lots of nice spots for your eyes to rest in it. I think we'll call it on that one. So that one's done. That's all I have for today. Maybe I'll show this too. With these watercolor blocks, this thing came with a little like leaf thing, but you can use a knife or whatever too. There's a little slit in the glue. And so you find where the top of your sheet is, push that in there. Just kind of move it around the edges. Maybe that was self-explanatory for some people, but for me, I was like, how does this work? So when I first got it, I didn't know what a block was. But now I don't know that I'm ever going to go back to buying pads, because having a watercolor block helps a little bit with buckling. It doesn't make it go away completely, because you can see this paper isn't exactly straight. You know, it definitely did buckle, but it definitely helps a lot with the buckling. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's what she looks like. I'll close it out there.